I titled today's Neville Goddard discussion, Walk with the High. The premise of this conversation is you rise to a higher level of consciousness by taking your attention away from your present limitations and placing it upon that which you desire to be. Now we're speaking of imagination here. Present limitations are interpretations. And these interpretations are what we are assigning as far as meaning goes to the outer world experience, people, environment, circumstance, and information. It starts in imagination, present limitation, interpretation, stories, beliefs, etc. And we recognize that it's a state of mind that we're in, so we switch into a different state of mind, one which we are self-persuaded that reality is a reflection of the ideal or what we desire to be. As he says, by representing others to myself and persuading myself that they are as I would like them to be, to the degree that I am self-persuaded, they will become it. Now, I mentioned this a number of times, a story where I started practicing more so the conscious utilization of switching into different states of mind. Engaging in a conversation or interaction with a person or a group of people from one state of mind, and observe my thinking patterns and also the reflection of that, the others, reflecting back the thinking patterns that I have within myself in dialogue. They're reflecting back the inner dialogue. They're saying the same things, maybe verbatim, or interpretations from within playing out as the theater. For example, if I have doubt or indecision within myself, I notice that they speak of doubt and indecision in relation to their goals, their visions, or whatever it is that we're working on together. Let's say it's a team member, business initiative. Now, switching into a different state of mind, I notice that they represent that state of mind, which is the state of mind that I'm in, through their dialogue and how they interpret reality. And this is very interesting. I would like us to all become a lot more sensitive to this particular experience because I believe it holds a lot of power to bringing forth our vision from the perspective of flow. So again, by representing others to myself and persuading myself that they are as I would like them to be, to the degree that I am self-persuaded, they will become it. So what this means is we enter into a certain state of mind. And then from that state of mind, we experience people to reflect that state of mind. And we do this in imagination. So when he says, taking your attention away from your present limitations, it is present limitations as far as interpretations go within, which play out as the theater of whatever that means in how we relate to others, our conversations, our discussions, how they interpret reality, how we interpret reality. It's the theater that's playing out from within based on the state of mind in which we occupy. So this is important for us to know then. He says, how do you get out of a state? So if you find yourself in a state of mind in which you are unconsciously saying, I am too, certain interpretation or thinking or belief systems or states of mind that seem to play out as disharmony here in this five sensory experience with others, he says, you must believe in the doctrine. You are told whatsoever you desire, believe you have already received it, and you will. So this means, I am this now. I've entered into the state of mind now. It could be as simple as saying, I am the person that is in harmony with those that I communicate with. I am a successful sales rep. I am an excellent communicator. Now, if we say these kinds of things to ourselves and we don't feel the feeling of the wish fulfilled, then we can imagine it or do something that would imply and bring us into that zone. I remember reading a while back, there's a book called The Way of the Wolf by Jordan Belfort. And he talks about how he smells peppermint to bring him into a certain state of mind before he does his sales calls. I know many others that go through certain processes like this to bring them into certain states of mind. It could be something like a meditation, going for a walk, or one of the things that I used to do that was great for me when I was teaching the speed reading workshops was I would talk to 5 people in the lobby of the hotel prior to entering the room. And this can be done physically like this, but would imply being that person that I already am, which is one with the environment. And I then can talk to anyone. Then I walk into the room and then automatically I feel one with, connection with everyone. Or a person can imagine themselves and bring them into the feeling in imagination. What we're really doing, if we want to split hairs here, is we're starting in imagination, saying, I am that person, which then plays out as the theater of further encouraging it through the behaviors, or in our imagination, we're imagining ourselves doing something that would imply, which brings us into the state. And how do we know when we are in the state? He says, whatsoever you desire, believe you have it, and you will receive it. He says, the precepts of Christ must be accepted literally, for they will be fulfilled literally. Can you believe the precept that believing you have already received your desire will bring it forth into your world? If so, then tonight you can change the things that are happening in your world. And if you can believe and persuade yourself that things are as you want them to be, to the point of actually moving into the feeling they are true, they will be felt and seen in your world. You must feel your desires are already realized, that they are already true, for the truth of any concept is known by the feeling of certainty that the thought is true. So many different ways of getting into the different states of mind that we want to occupy and see it play out as theater in how we relate to others. As mentioned, Jordan Belfort did it his way. I do it my way. And a person does it in imagination, or they may say something to themselves. Many different ways of bringing themselves into that state of mind. Now, I like what he says here also, where he says, to the degree, so he says, to the degree that I am self-persuaded, they will become it. So for whatever the reason, I fall out in different states of mind. I do things, I think things, I encourage things, I imagine things that will allow that to be my dwelling place, a certain state of mind that I'm so deeply integrated with, that my reality is the way I want it to be to such a degree that I, in a way, forget that I am in that state of mind and have occupied it, in which I recommend relating this over to what we talked about a few videos ago. I'll put a link in the description in that. The feeling of ecstatic. Because he had mentioned, he said, what would imply this feeling of ecstatic? Because when you imply this feeling of ecstatic, you get into that feeling based on what you're doing or thinking or imagining. Then what you'll notice is things, people, environment, circumstance, and information are reflected from the feeling of ecstatic. You feel ecstatic in how you relate to others and how they relate to you. You seem to end up in certain environments or opportunities or experiences that are representative of that ecstatic feeling. Now, one of the key aspects of this is that all power is in this moment now, based on what we are saying I am too. So we were given the two gifts of speech and mind, which we can refer to as imagination, and given himself to you because he held nothing back. We have the ability to call upon his name, I am, and bring forth into existence that which we are imagining. Now, in this moment. If you say, I am this, I am that, you might not know how you'll end up playing out the theater that represents what you say I am too. Those ways might not be the conscious, known ways of how it works. But what we're doing when we identify with I am, one with. We call upon the known and unknown ways. And all this is happening in this moment now. So here are 3 ways that I work with this. Number 1, go to the end now. Number 2, live from the end now. And number 3, reconcile the past to now. So here's how it would play out. Let's say someone's in an interaction with a person, a team member, a prospect, a client, someone. They know that they're in the feeling of the wish fulfilled in the ideal state of mind when some way, somehow, they feel the conversation is going to lead to what they desire to experience with the individual. The prospect becoming the client, or the prospect referring other business to you to translate over to a certain amount of income goal or something like that. And if for whatever reason they feel friction, unnecessary complexity and convolution, overthinking, reactivity, tension, they simply imagine or do one of those things, as I had suggested, or something that works for you, that brings them into that end, the feeling of the wish fulfilled now. And he suggests working with imagination. So imagine what would imply. I would suggest doing the same as well, because just like with anything, we get better at it with practice. As I used to do certain kinds of processes to bring myself into the feeling of the wish fulfilled, I also recognize, upon working with this information, that I could do it through imagination by simply saying, I am this now, or imagining myself as that person now. And then as soon as I do that, I feel the feeling of the wish fulfilled. And as we find ourselves out of that flow, we can get back into that flow again by imagining. So being aware, being sensitive to how we feel is very important, because this would indicate if we're dwelling in different states of mind. Thus, it'll be very apparent in how we relate to people, environment, circumstance, and information, the state of mind that we're in. Number 2, live from the end now. So the way I do this is through interpretation. So for example, let's say a prospect does not want to do business with me, and my goal is to receive X amount of dollars as a result of my business initiatives. In the end, that's the end, I may say things like, well, they might not be interested in doing the deal with me, but some way, somehow, someone's going to show up that is going to do the deal with me. Or they might not be interested in doing this right now, but they will be interested in doing this later. Or I get some optimization data from this particular experience, which is going to translate into what I need to do next to produce the results. Or some kind of interpretation like that would imply that the experience of this now is related to that end. Number 3, we can also reconcile the past now, again through imagination. So a person might start an interaction with a prospect, engage in conversation, and feel the feeling of the wish fulfilled, and find a very flow-based conversation playing out. And then the prospect might say something to them in which internally in their imagination, they're doing this thing here. They're putting their attention on present limitations, which is happening in their imagination, and translating that over based on the identification of the state of mind as this is what the person is saying. Remember, one of the things that we always mention all throughout our Neville discussions is that there's only one interpreter, and it is us. And we have the power to, within ourselves, say, I am to this, I am to that. Although a lot of the things we say, I am to, happens to be unconscious, but we can make it conscious by observing our reactivity and tension, and then discovering within ourselves the meaning that we are assigning. And I reconcile it based on past by, let's say, if the person says something to me, like, for example, if they said, this product will never sell, which I've heard that many times in my past and proved that to be not true, because it's my interpretation based on an experience of the 5 sensory in which I identified with that would send me down different threads, such as proving in an equation that the product didn't sell, or proving in an equation some way, somehow, that the product did sell based on a some way, somehow interpretation within myself. So perhaps that thinking pattern was from a past experience. So I'll reconcile that in the now, if that reactivity is brought to the surface in imagination, in my mind, and say, some way, somehow, this conversation is leading to the end. And although I may not have been able to sell this before, that's fine with me. It'll start to sell. I know some way, somehow, this product is going to start to sell. Thus, I'm not letting the past interpretations dictate the state of mind that I'm in now, in what I am saying I am to now. Remember, reality is an expression of what we are unconsciously and consciously saying I am to now, the eternal now. So that's why I put 3 ways and relate it over to now. Go to the end now. Live from the end now. Reconcile the past to now. And as we do this, we can further understand what we discussed in Thursday's video in relation to the process outlined by Wallace Wattles in The Science of Getting Rich. And we can maintain that ideal state of mind in relation to the vision. And also, that would represent the degree of self-persuasion. In other words, a high degree of self-persuasion means no matter what happens here in this 5-sensory experience, you remain in that state of mind because you're living in faith, or in combination, belief and faith. Belief being things like, I believe it because of this or because of that, which is fine. Or I don't know how, some way, somehow, which is faith, which is loyalty to the unseen reality, or, as we are discussing in this video, letting I am take care of the rest. I am this now, and some way, somehow, I am, in the unknown ways, and known and unknown ways combination, whatever it is that I'm experiencing right now is in harmony and in contribution to my vision, and some way, somehow, I'm going to get there. So what this is really designed to do, this way of thinking, which I want to further encourage, is recognize that all power is now, in this moment. Reality is an expression of what we are saying I am to now. And what we are putting our attention on within has associated me with a certain state of mind, and the world reflects as an affirmation of that state of mind. And since we are transcendent to the states of mind, we can place ourselves in different states of mind. Thus, I would recommend and go down a journey of finding the different things, thought processes, imaginal scenes, inner dialogues, certain things that you do that bring you into an ideal state of mind, because when you're relating with others on the business journey, relationships, friendships, family, and so forth, it says, by representing others to myself and persuading myself that they are as I would like them to be, to the degree that I am self-persuaded they will become it. Because remember what I had shared before, I went into the room with a certain state of mind and people were reflecting that exact inner dialogue conversation related to that state of mind. I switched into a different state of mind. One was more of a empowering state of mind. Another one was more of a reactive state of mind. And the conversation played out as a mirror reflection. What was the change? The change happened within, based on what I said I am too. So to further encourage this, let's reflect upon this quote here from James Allen from one of my favorite books, The Heavenly Life. He says, man has all the power now, but not knowing this, he says, I will be perfect next year, or in so many years, or in so many lives. The dwellers in the kingdom of God who live only in the now say, I am perfect now. And refraining from all sin now and ceaselessly guarding the portals of the mind, which happens automatically through the identification of I am perfect now. Automatically, not looking to the past or the future, not turning to the left or right, they remain eternally holy and blessed. Now, this is extremely powerful and helpful for our journeys to realize our vision. And if for whatever the reason may be, we have challenge with it, which as we continue to identify with certain thinking patterns or states of mind, we become it more so and remain in it, dwell in it, and it becomes our self-image. We can benefit from relating to the end now by stepping into it, simply what we imagine, what we say, what we talk to ourselves, or what we can do to bring us to the end. We can live from the end now, which is understanding if need be. You don't have to think about it all the time, as needed to bring yourself into the ideal state of mind or the feeling of the wish fulfilled by relating the now from an accurate perspective, such as the examples that I gave, to the end, thus saying I am to that state of mind, or any kind of reconciliation to past experiences that seem to, through reactivity, be brought to the surface right now. Because a lot of times we'll find this reactivity to be certain aspects from our past. And it's what we say I am to now that has all the power, so we can understand in relation to the past that perhaps that happened in that scenario, but this scenario is different because you are a different person now. Or some kind of inner dialogue like that, which encourages it. So let's go ahead and conclude this with an auto-suggestion to further instill this. We can say, I recognize that I have the ability to switch into different states of mind by recognizing that I'm transcendent to them by the power of I am. Through what I say I am to, I identify with, and thus I'm able to, in imagination, imagine what would imply and switch into different states of mind upon will to represent from a self-persuaded perspective to externalize as others playing out the theater of the state of mind in which I occupy. This brings me internal peace, harmony, love, acceptance, and understanding of the power within myself and my ability to utilize this power to identify with whatever state of mind that I desire. I find myself automatically more so identifying with, through this understanding and reconciliation, the ideal state of mind that is one with my vision, which is in spirit of harmony of love with all. If you would like a copy of this mind map, the link is in the description. Thank you very much for watching. I'll talk to you soon. Take care.